Welcome to wionpodcast, where we explore fascinating stories and ideas from various fields. In this episode, we uncover how Russian scientists discovered the world's oldest known pollinators, namely ancient insects, even older than the mosquitoes from Jurassic Park. Paleontologists have found fossils of the oldest known insects and perhaps the world's first ever plant pollinators in Russia. The rare fossils of the earwig-like insects, known as Tillyardembiids, were discovered along the riverbank near the village of Chekada in Russia. At 280 million years old, the specimens predate what were previously the earliest known pollen-covered insects by about 120 million years. It is also one of the oldest ever insects, older than the mosquitoes found in Jurassic Park, which were nearly 200 million years old. Tillyardembiids are flattened creatures and have clumps of pollen on their heads, bodies, and legs. These insects looked like Christmas baubles when detected under a fluorescent microscope. The pollens found on these insects are gymnosperms, which is a plant category that produces seeds without flowers. Flowering plants evolved 250 million to 150 million years ago, but became far more common 100 million years ago as the rise in pollinators helped transform the diversity of terrestrial life on Earth. The discovery of these pollen insects was led by a team from Russia and Poland. The team concede that it is impossible to know whether their ancient insects contributed to pollination in the Permian period, but suggests that by eating pollen and covering themselves in the grains, the creatures were an evolutionary precursor to the mutually beneficial arrangement. All the observations were published in the scientific journal of the Royal Society, Biology Letters. The Permian period covers the last 47 million years of the Paleozoic era, which spans 540 million to 250 million years ago. Many insects preserved in amber date to 100 million years ago. Describing the first instance of discovering these fossils, Alexander Kramov, a senior researcher, said it was like touching the past. Kramov is a researcher at the Paleontological Institute, Russian Academy of Science in Moscow. He further said, "This discovery sheds light on the early evolution of insect pollination. It provides direct, smoking gun evidence of pollen dispersion by Paleozoic insects. And we could say that Tillyardembiids were picky eaters, specialized on a rather narrow range of host plants. Tillyardembiids had wings, and so were highly effective at dispersing pollen, but whether the insects co-evolved with gymnosperms as the plant's pollinators is likely to remain a mystery. We cannot go back in a time machine to observe whether these insects did pollination work or not. Even if they pollinated ancient gymnosperms all day round, there are no ways to prove it with certainty by means of paleontology," Kramov said. "Who knows? Maybe they simply gobbled up pollen, and plants did not benefit from it. Anyway, what we could say for sure is that Tillyardembiids visited quite a narrow range of plants and carried their pollen in large amounts. So I do not see why they could not have been pollinators," he added. Charles Wellman, professor of paleobiology at the University of Sheffield, said the majority of modern plants are insect-pollinated. How and when insect pollination began is a compelling question. This new fossil discovery suggests that insects had begun to steal plant pollen to eat millions of years before the process of pollination evolved. However, this eventually became an association of mutual benefit, as plants developed mechanisms to ensure that the thieves left with pollen attached, fertilizing neighboring plants as they fed on them. Barry Lomax, professor of plant paleobiology at the University of Nottingham, said plant-insect interactions define the modern world, with pollinator services proving the backbone for much of our food production. The study, he said, provided evidence for the antiquity of the relationship, one that became established well before the evolution of flowers, which likely occurred in the Cretaceous period about 135 million years ago. The exciting thing about this discovery is the fact that there appears to be a degree of specialization in plant-insect interactions, and that this specialization predates flowering plants, and it suggests the possibility that insect pollination predates flowers. Thanks for tuning into this incredible story. If this episode resonated with you, Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more captivating stories to come. Stay tuned.